a waitress in a cocktail bar when he met me, and his real name is Peter Robinson. We're going to take you into the break with a selection of his finer moments. He did have one or two, you know.
How would I sum up a decade? How would I sum up a decade? 2 times 5 years. You could have mentioned Kosovo to one of us if that had been going on at the time then, and we'd have went, who's she? New romantic, I mean, new romantic. Gender means could be male, could be female, and bender, if you take out the, like, insults, appropriation that people have used, bender, bending a gender, that's a compliment. If someone's a gender bender and someone calls me a gender bender, right on. Yeah, I'm gender bender. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Boy George, just checking. We're halfway through the New Romantic Top 10. Here's what we got so far.
Made Up to Be at 10, Visage. At 9, Geisha Guys, Japan. Sheffield Stars ABC are at 8. Bed Sitting at 7, Soft Cell. No Sign of Mary and Mungo, but Midge and the Boys are at 6. And Phil and the Phillies, the Mighty Human League, are at number 5.
When I look in this mirror, I see a definite positive number 1. But the people who put this chart together say 4. What do they know? Nothing!
So I say this now to the camera. I love George. I fell in love with him.
I'm not a traditional man. I mean, I'm not one of the old breed.
You could say that.
When I first met George, he just had something about him. You don't meet many people like that in your life. You can tell when there's been so many bands, you can tell when you meet a real star.
John was a really good organiser, he was very bossy. You know, he seemed to know what he was talking about, so that was really when it started to really take off the ground.
The other members of the band were the frame to a Picasso, being George.
The whole thing, you know, was a totality. I don't think you can separate the music from the clothes or the sexual politics.
Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me?
As soon as George appeared in our front rooms, he was a national icon. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? No, it's a pop star who's about to have the biggest single success in America since the Beatles.
When I got really successful with the Culture Club, I couldn't really believe that I'd got away with it. You can almost become a sort of national celebrity without doing very much to deserve it, in a sense.
Should there be schools for people, special schools for people like you?
Yeah, a school for weirdos.
You're just a bunch of kids. You've no idea what it's really like.
What's like?
Real life.
I must say, in all seriousness, you are a very attractive person.
George was the door opener and the icon of the age.
I'm a man without conviction. I'm a man who doesn't know how to sell a contradiction. You come and go. You come and go.
When I first sang it to the band, they laughed at me and said, oh, this is ridiculous, you know, this is never going to get anywhere.
Come a chameleon. You come and go. You come and go.
Karma Chameleon was number 1 for 6 weeks and also made it to the top in the States. However, the band's creative core was about to implode.
I think George feels that John wasn't always open and honest and used to try and control him through sexual behaviour.
John was never keen to have me announce our relationship.
You know, it was on a knife edge, the whole thing. Everything would be going okay for a couple of minutes and then bang, you know.
I suppose in a sense John feels that I've kind of blamed him for everything, and I really haven't.
I was no angel, I'm sure. There's probably things I've done that were awful that I've forgotten about, to be honest. But I think I've really been painted as the villain of the piece, but far too much.
I don't know how much of it was John advancing his career. I wouldn't like to say, really. I mean, I don't wish to appear bitchy and naff.
Naffness aside, Culture Club's last top 5 hit was the really profound War Song.
War was stupid and people stupid and love means nothing in some strange quarters. War was stupid and people stupid and I...
By the end of '84, George and John's relationship was in serious trouble. After they split for good, John would settle down and start a family, while George went into another life-changing affair.
I think we're all the masters of our own destiny, and I think that I created myself and I destroyed myself.
How many units did that
It was 2 sheets to the wind, you know what I mean? He was gone. I mean, gone.
The pop singer Boy George has been fined £250 for possessing heroin. After leaving court with his mother and to the screams of waiting fans, he said he had been treated fairly.
The pressure of being so successful, the pressure of being in a relationship, drugs, excess, money, all those things, you know, played a part in destroying Culture Club.
It was an amazing band, I suppose, had an amazing finish, you know. It's typical showbiz, isn't it? Very camp showbiz, you know. It's a fantastic start, you know, where everybody loves us, and then an amazing downfall.
After the fall, George picked himself up with a spot of Buddhism, a bit of DJing and the odd theme tune.
Reforming Culture Club was a complete gamble, and I thought about it, talked to my friends, who were all of, you know, differing opinions. Don't do it, it's a backward step. Other people said, yeah, do it. And I just thought about it and thought, yeah, why not?
The reunion has seen George and the boys bounce back bigger than ever, with sellout tours here and in the US. The Culture Club story shows no sign of ending just yet.
I would like the band to be remembered as a good band, and not as, you know, funny old drag queen in a hat with some silly pop songs. These handsome boys came from the East End and they loved their mum. But they went on to terrorise the pop world by wearing kilts and big girls' blouses. It ain't a crime, you know. Sadly, it all ended in court. But these German ballet dancers made it to number 3.
A kiss of light breaks to reveal a moment when all mirrors are redundant. Listen to the portrait of the dance of perfection. The Spandau Ballet.
We wanted to do something different, not to be just another pop group. We turned into just another pop group, as everyone else does who becomes successful.
We wanted fame. I wanted fame. I was desperate for it. I mean, I wanted to be one of those people on top of the pops.
These were Barra boys. These are boys who've always known how to bark to get a crowd.
Spandau Ballet were 5 geezers from Islington, ace faces at Romo hotspots, Billies and Blitz, managed by schoolmate turned Svengali Steve Dagger.
The original idea was not to do gigs in places that, you know, rock and roll places. You know, apart from the Blitz, we did gigs at the Scala Cinema, and then we hired a battleship.
We saw ourselves as a very cult movement at the beginning, at Billies and Blitz, and then when we first started playing, and we were playing venues that we weren't playing established rock venues at all.
You see, and Steve Dagwood realised that this thing was working brilliantly. If you did gigs which were parties, A, they would be great fun, even if no one watched the band, so they'd come away thinking they had a brilliant time. And secondly, if you did gigs that no one could get into, it causes a huge storm.
Their manager rode the storm, cashed in and got the Spans a huge record deal and some long overdue new trousers. Now all they had to do was become one of the biggest bands in the world.
Even if you're miming a song, perform it for the audience. I think that looks a lot more real, and I think it's just a bit more honest. I've never seen to camera except poke my tongue out or something like that. We had a couple of dip periods. I think there was Paint Me Down and She Loved Like Diamond that didn't do particularly well.
There was a tremor around the group, and you could see people in the record company kind of thinking, you know, because groups don't have very long shelf lives.
And it was a remix on Instinction by Trevor Horn that then put us right back up there again.
It was quite a conscious decision within the band to commercialise, I would say. If you look at the video from Instinction, you know, I think it's the first video that Tony smiles in, because up until then we were quite serious in our videos.
Everything was going swimmingly for our daft-hatted heroes, but then a dark new force emerged from the Black Country.
I think the rivalry between us was true. You want your enemy, makes you feel more powerful. Duran were the one that we could oppose.
Yeah, wankers. Have you heard it? It's crap, isn't it?
That rivalry was played up by the press and played up a bit by bands, because again, it's one of the things that keeps people interested.
We are fashionable, we're on the money, we are the group of the moment. How can they be there from fucking Birmingham, you know?
It only takes a second to score a #1, and there was nothing to choose between the teams.
Duran 14, Spandau Ballet 14.
I said, well, you've got to revise for it, we've got to win. Can't go on the show and lose to them.
Is it Union of the Snake? It's not.
I don't know why they're cheering, because it's not.
Despite coming off second best to Duran Duran a few times, yet another shift in sound and image saw the Spans break the international market.
I don't know what makes a particular song any more wonderful than another song, why it lives in people's minds, or why it just touches people in a particular way. I've no idea why that happens.
By the time we hit True, my voice by that time was kind of, I'd eased off the opera thing and it was just going at its normal pace.
This is the sound of my soul. This is the sound.
Stayed at #1 for 4 weeks, so it was pretty damn perfect. The tour sold out, there was screaming girls everywhere. We were #1 album and single. Doesn't get much better than that.
Why do I find it hard to write the next line? Oh, I want the truth to be said.
Well, I mean, I have to be proud of True. I have to be proud of that, because it's had so many airplays. It's been played over 2 million times in America.
Much is true.
What you have to realise here is that obviously it was all about the fashion thing, the art, but it was also about people having a bloody good time, you know.
Bonkers! And the hits kept coming, but a mid-80s split with their record company was the beginning of the end.
They were using, you know, what we call new romanticism and post-punkism and new waveism and new popism as an excuse, really, to be the medallion men that they really were.
As a recording, as a vocal performance, I thought it was one of the most complete things that we ever did.
After making love on that wasteland, Tony went solo, the Kemps became the craze, and recently Martin has captured the nation's hearts topping blondes on EastEnders. Sadly, the whole Ballylot have ended up in court arguing over the royalties on those 80s classics.
I'm more proud of playing a part in pop culture history rather than necessarily particular songs.
People eventually become nostalgic and go back and go, bloody hell, those guys were actually really good, some great songs, what great playing, what a great singer. And people reflect on that. And good, justice.
As well as starring in their own 24-hour dramas, some new romantic artists appeared in movies, all comparts of course. Here's some clips for your pleasure.
Can I lay a deposit on it? What? No! A monetary deposit!
What's your name? Reggie Craig. Reggie Craig? Ronnie Craig? What are you, brothers? Yeah. Yes. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, the Craig brothers!
What do you do?
Nothing. I'm a musician.
You're gorgeous.
Speed.
Marker.
Action.
Really, Nick? What's the big deal?
Exactly. I mean, pussy is pussy, right?
I don't know. This valley, you know, it may not be keyed to your audience demographics, George.
Nonsense. Everybody likes Culture Club.
Hey, Faze, he's right. They're great.
Going out with a streak of Tipex across your nose isn't everybody's idea of style, but it certainly worked for the frontman of this group at number 2.
Marvellous. How do I look?
You look fantastic now!
Do I look like?
Oh.
In the late 70s, a bloke called Stuart Goddard became Adam Ant and formed a punk group. He asked Malcolm McLaren to advise the band, which he did, advising all of them bar Adam to leave and form Bow Wow Wow. Nice one, Malcolm.
There was a few people in Adam and the Ants in the late 70s, and Malcolm, as far as I know, he got in with them, and he got the Ants, and they all blew out Adam. And I remember somebody told me Adam was standing there crying one day. They all gave him the sack, which was nasty.
If I hadn't have gone through that experience, I wouldn't have really started working with Marco, and things are supposed to be as they're supposed to be. But it was quite upsetting, because it really left... Or I just said, you know, I want the name.
And he told me the whole McLaren thing, how he'd got McLaren in to kind of revamp the band, paid him $1,000 for McLaren's ideas, and McLaren came up with this kind of Burundi, Apache, wild Indian thing. Yeah, I mean, they were good ideas, but they were formless, you know, so how do you do it? You know.
I think we were lucky to have Chris, our drummer, working in on it, because I think he was even more involved.
He just had 2 separate roles, and when he was in the studio, he was the producer. I mean, I didn't have any problem with that.
You could tell it was going to go places just from Adam's attitude. You know, this band are going to be huge. You know, we're going to be household names within 6 months. And we were. And he was absolutely adamant.
By that time, we were kind of ready to just compete. We were just ready to compete, and we did. Calling it our music, the game was more provocative. It was kind of like people really hated the idea of that arrogance, but that was it, you know.
He had a definite vision of visually what it all should look like, down to the last detail. So there was no point in trying to interject, oh, I don't know about that and I don't know about this, because the geezer's been thinking about it for months and it's all he thinks about.
When he's treading on you, don't you run
the way the music worked was essentially the three of us. The way the look worked was essentially Adam.
The line across the nose was a declaration of war, really, on the music business. Just, you know, this is it, you know. This is the band that everyone loves to hate.
Ant-Mania had swept the nation, but within the band there were still intense philosophical problems.
You know, there would be like sort of discussions at the back of the bus saying, look lads, we are the biggest band in England. Now, there's certain problems, you know, with how it's going. Namely, we're not getting shagged. Now, we should know, why are we not getting shagged?
It was really just a combination of quite heroic characters, really. The flamboyance of piracy and Highwayman, you know, the fact that men could be quite foppish and quite scary at the same time.
When it went on one, it was just like, yes, yeah, this will do, this is great. The pressure aspect didn't hit till later.
The band had been having a lot of internal sort of disputes and struggles, and it was really all about... It's all about money.
The spirit of the band wasn't there anymore. We had 3 managers, you know, and it was having to book an appointment to do a sound check sort of thing, and it just wasn't... I think we were just exhausted.
So it was see you later. And for Adam, a solo career, although Marco stayed on and Chris Hughes kept producing.
At the time it seemed logical. You know, I think his time with that band of people, it was, you know, it had come to an end.
If you're not getting on as well as you should get on, then you just can't carry it off. It doesn't sound right, doesn't look right.
Goody Two-Shoes was Adam's first solo thing, and we did it with Chris. Lyrically, it was because Adam's big thing in interviews at that time was, I don't drink and I don't smoke, and people were always taking a pop at him at that.
Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? Subtle innuendos follow. Must be something inside.
That was Adam's last number 1, and after a brief comeback in 1990, he's been concentrating on an acting career, whilst the Soldier Ants continue to write, record and produce.
I wanted people to have that feeling of running in on Friday morning to school and saying, God, did you see that band? What was that all about? Was it any good? And I wanted people to say, no, they were crap, they looked like puffs. No, they were brilliant.
I think it had to look as good as it sounded. You know, it was, you know, here we are and lock up your daughters sort of thing.
Must be something inside.
Well, it's almost time for the big moment, but first let's count down the 80s top 10 from beginning to finish.
Romo Ace Face's Visage are at 10. In Like a Bullet Train at Platform 9, Japan. Wedged at 8, ABC. Little and Large Soft Cell at 7. Vox on the Run at 6. Half Cut at 5, The Human League. Good Karma at 4 with George and the Boys. Hammersmith Palais at Spandau Ballet at 3. And putting on a brave face at 2, Adam's Ants.
This next group took their name from a baddie in the movie Barbarella. Well, they were from Birmingham. Anyway, they're still going strong, they're older and wiser, and they're number 1 in the New Romantic Top 10. I know, I can't believe it either. Just check inside.
It's nearly the end and we've got a great band to finish, I think.
We have possibly the greatest band to finish.
Duran Duran!
I'd heard a couple of things about this band. People have said there's, it's a very arty band. They've got a very stylish singer. I said, well, that's funny because I'm going up for the job.
I would have been about 16 and John had left art school and we wanted to form a band.
No, I certainly fantasised about having a band that would take me around the world. Nick and I met through a mutual friend, although we lived on the same housing estate, Hollywood, and Hollywood, Birmingham.
John and I sort of, we'd been through the glam rock thing, been through the punk thing, and had got into a little bit of dance music and funk as well.
We were just a community of, punks and kids who, sort of wanted to get involved.
We'd had so many people come along and nobody had any lyrics, and Simon came with a book full of lyrics. I said, "Are these all yours?" I was looking through, oh, they're not bad actually, some good titles, I went in and said, "Boys, he's got the job, he's got words."
The lineup complete, our blousy young heroes were ready to break out of the TV studio and make movies.
I remember the inspiration for the video being very much the clubs in America. When we'd gone there the first time in 1980, some of them had these gigantic screens, and something occurred to us that, it'd be nice to make a long-form video too, so that they could play them in the clubs.
And the birth of video saw Duran Duran turn plenty of heads with their 12-incher for Girls on Film.
The important point was to make a better album than the first album, which happens so rarely, and to outsell the first album. And we managed to do that, and that meant we had a career.
In touch with the ground, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Center the sound, I'm lost in a pound, and I'm hungry like the wolf.
In every other aspect of our careers, we were in total control. We were writing our own songs, we were putting our own shows together, and producing our own albums. But then people would ask us about the videos, and do you write your own videos? Well, no, actually, that's the one thing we don't do.
I have one worst lyric ever, twice.
You're about as easy as a nuclear war.
Once for that lyric and once for rhyming jism with catechism.
The boats, the beaches, and the birds. This is what, that is a very memorable Duran Duran image, I suppose.
Videos were only building on something that was really solid and underneath. And Hungry Like the Wolf video or Rio wouldn't have been anything without those songs.
That wretched boat. I'm a firm believer that yachts are to be tied up.
And we kept having this label thrown at us, Decadent Duran Duran, and this whole kind of Thatcherism thing. No, to be honest, but we weren't, though. We weren't. We were just hard-working.
You're either morally sound or you're not. Well, we were, whether you like it or not.
We were very young, and we just wanted to get out there and explore the world and do as many different things as we could.
And then, people would slag us off for making these kinds of decisions. It's like, I defy you to do otherwise.
In the end, one of John's decisions was marrying wild child Amanda de Cadenet, while Simon somehow snared a supermodel called Yasmin. No, really. Anyway, by the mid-80s, the world had decided that Duran Duran were their favourite band.
There were occasions when the owners of the Video Shack on Broadway must have regretted the heavy advertising for the visit of Duran Duran. Within minutes of the pop group's arrival, the mounted police had to be called in.
You make like animals out here.
It was just a very extreme experience, and it was one that you sort of dreamt about or you've sort of seen happening to somebody else on the news. Then you're in it, and you're kind of looking at each other going, "Oh, this is different, isn't it?"
But 4 years of full-on fame was to prove too much. Before the 1986 comeback album that Nile Rodgers produced Notorious, guitarist Andy and drummer Roger quit.
When we did come back together after Arcadia and Power Station, we found out it was just Simon and John and I.
The bad news is, Andy's out. The good news is the producer's one of the best guitar players in the world.
The energy of that man and his feeling for funky music, it really affected the sound of the record, and it wouldn't have been made without him. I think the band probably would have split up if hadn't Nile come in at that time, actually.
When it came to the end of the 1980s, there was a lot of people rubbing their hands together saying, right, That's the end of the decade. We're going to lock the door, and by the way, make sure Duran Duran are in there, will you?
Suddenly, we didn't have a guitar player in the room with us, and it was like 3 men and a drum machine.
We had been written off. We were definitely down the back of the sofa at that point.
So I came along at a really good time. The struggle was on.
With Baldy session man Warren Cucurullo on board, the Ivor Novello-winning Ordinary World confirmed the band's staying power. But the wedding album also saw the start of a messy separation.
It made divorcing my wife seem like a walk in the park. I couldn't really make any separation between my adult life and Duran Duran. You know, I mean, it gave me everything. At least that's how I saw it.
Now living in Hollywood, California, Taylor is a solo artist, occasionally collaborating with neighbour and one-time hero ex-Sex Pistols Steve Jones.
You know, with this, I just thought, I can't think about it too much. I'm just gonna like put it down. Steve would come in and play, and I'd say, "Oh, that's great. I love it." He said, "Well, shouldn't I tune first?"
Meanwhile, the lads from Hollywood, Birmingham show no signs of stopping.
It's become all of our lives, really. You know, whoops, here we go again. It's just like that. I don't know. I just keep hanging on, and you know, it's been a great ride so far.
That was the gloriously ridiculous Duran Duran, and that ends our look at the 80s with all the dodgy bands with their dodgy outfits. Pop used to have style. Now it's got Billy and Boyzone. They may be cute, but they're boring. It's been fun having you.
I heard you on the wireless back in 52, lying awake intently tuning in on you. If I was young, it didn't stop you coming through.
Four's Top 10 returns at Easter, and at 11:10 tonight on 4, the story of legendary rock group Pink Floyd, Behind the Wall, and that spectacular concert.